Let's do it.
Did you watch the 30 for 30 last night with Ric Flair?
I watched it twice. I watched it through, and then I thought I started all over again. I'm like, yeah.
A discussion about Ric Flair, ladies and gentlemen.
Watch it, the Nature Boy.
Nature Boy!
If I can get Ric Flair on the show, I'd do nothing else the rest of my life. I just stop.
That's it.
Right
Just,
then.
yeah,
That
shut it
would be
down.
it.
Yeah. Rolex wearing. I'm telling you. All right,
He's the man.
let's do it. Let's do a show.
Okay. He was what Snoop Dogg wanted to be.
I still want to be.
Okay. Here we go.
Welcome back to the 101, the Small Business and Entrepreneur Show. This is Michael Morris, and today I get to talk to a lot of people when I do this, and most of the time I have no idea who they are until they get here. But today I get to spend time with somebody who's a good buddy of mine, Marc Aubry from Greenscapes. How are you, Marc?
I'm excellent, Michael. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, people didn't get to hear our little brief discussion about the Ric Flair documentary that we both watched last night, 30 for 30, The Nature Boy.
I didn't watch the last half hour.
Well, Marc, thanks for coming on. We'll see you later. No, I wanted to bring you on today because not only are we good buddies, and we have hosted some radio shows together.
It has happened.
Yes, but you are a 17-year veteran of the landscape industry through Greenscapes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I thought it would be interesting because normally when we do the show, you and I are just kind of going back and forth about landscaping, but we never really got to talk about you and what got you into this business. So can you give people a little background on, where you went to school and why you're doing what you're doing today?
Well, we'll start from the beginning. I grew up in a small town outside of Toledo that like 3 people have heard of. So,
Like a Mellencamp song?
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
That's Indiana. It's Ohio. Same thing.
What's the difference?
So I wanted to get out of there, and so the natural fit was to move to Columbus and go to school at Ohio State. I started the engineering program. That was a little boring. I come from a long line of engineers in my family, and it just didn't seem creative enough for me. So I had some friends who were in the landscape architecture program and the architecture program, so I kind of took some classes there, and then got on to into the landscape architecture program at Ohio State, and really liked it. And something a little different, a lot of my friends who I graduated with went on to work for big firms, design these huge campuses, which I liked, and I could do that, but I liked building things and seeing it happen a little more quickly. So I got into sort of the design build side, where we do a little bit smaller projects than those big ones, but pretty detailed, pretty fast paced, and you have more hands-on and day-to-day connectivity to the project.
Can I ask you the term design build? Because I hear it. Marty Reed, who is a friend of ours, does another show. It's all about remodeling. That term, I've heard that for 7 straight years. Before that, I had never heard that.
Right.
What does that mean? What does design build mean?
Well, if you look at the way things are built, the traditional way of doing things would you'd hire an architect or a landscape architect. They would design your project, work out all the details, and then you would go and interview contractors to execute the plans. In the design build realm, you're hiring me as the designer, and you're hiring our company as the builder.
Oh, so it's all in one.
So it's all in one. So it's faster paced, and it leaves some of the decisions can be changed a lot easier, because I know what it takes to build things. And if someone says, well, when I was just at a project and they said, we want to move this from here to here, I said, that's fine, we can do that. Really no price change, it's not going to bother anything. So we can make those changes a lot more fluidly than, if someone wanted to change something and we were just executing plans and say, okay, well, we need to get the architect back involved and have him review it, make sure that's okay, and, it saves a step.
Isn't that kind of like engineering? I know you said you want to get out of the family business, but are you kind of engineering
Yes,
the project anyway?
I do a lot of engineering. I learned a lot of stuff in school, and it all plays a role in what I do on a smaller scale. There's still drainage, there's still construction techniques. I still have to know how masonry gets put together and structures are built. So there is a lot of engineering in what we do every day. It's a little bit more artistic.
So you didn't really get away from it. I mean, let's be honest. You're still kind of doing engineering.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing it your own way.
Oh, definitely.
And you've been at Greenscapes for 17 years?
I think so.
And it's been around for 41, I believe.
41 years. So it's a very well-established, company in town.
But you've kind of seen a lot of changes Bill Gerhardt, who owns it, you've seen a lot of development over the years, because I know when we do the other show, I keep hearing about the growth that you guys have experienced and the national recognition you're getting. What's that feel like to you, being that you started there? I mean, pretty much right out of school, right?
Right, correct. Well, it's good to be involved in, working at a small business, having an owner who put some of those, responsibilities on our shoulders to really...
You look so comfortable saying responsibilities. You mean that as a small business, there's a lot on your shoulders?
Yeah, there's a lot to do. I have friends who work for big companies, and, they have a project, and it's like, well, we're going to send this to this guy and this to this guy, and it's a team who really do the projects. And we still have a team, but there's less people on the team, and so you got to do a little bit more.
It's like working at Chase versus working at a family-owned or small bank or something.
Exactly,
like
same thing. At Chase, there's layers and layers and layers of people. We do have office staff that helps us do a lot of stuff, and we have production staff that helps on the production side. But when it comes to our marketing program, the marketing department is us sitting at the table discussing it and working with you.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there at that table where it literally is just a table with some drafted plans on the table, and it's like, just put your stuff on top of it.
Yeah.
But it is there's a very guerrilla marketing feel about it. The things that we're doing. As far as that goes, so you have to wear different hats, because initially when we first met, it was a phone call, and we were talking about marketing, and when I got there, I had no idea that you service jobs, that you do plans, that you do sales, that you have to do follow-up, because you're on the road a lot servicing your clients.
Right.
So when you initially take that job 17 years ago, what was the job supposed to be?
Well, I started off as just an assistant, so I did a lot of commercial estimation, where you get, we'd get plans for Easton, and you have to quantify everything that needs to be built. So everything that we're going to do, we have to figure out how much material we need and how much it's going to cost. So I did that for a while, and then, I didn't really have a passion for that. I could do it, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do.
Is that more like an accounting function
No,
type thing?
You still need some design background and kind of have to know what's going on, because sometimes the drawings miss something, or you have to interpret them to get it. So it helps to be able to know construction. It just makes the process go a little easier.
But that's the thing, the story of how you move up, because you really are like Bill's right-hand person. Like, if it's not his decision, you're getting involved.
Right.
But that had to evolve over time, right? Because it is a small business. You've seen people come and go, and you're still there. So how does that kind of evolve over time as you're an assistant to where you're at now?
Well, you just get more responsibilities, and your role changes, So then I went from the commercial side to the residential side, and, started working with those guys to be more involved in the residential projects. And then, it became time where it was my turn to go out and start taking leads. And, I started to work how I work now. You meet people. I got to meet some clients who a previous designer who left, and I got to really see how he dealt with people, and it wasn't always successful. And he was very good at getting people to do what he thought was right at their house, and making them believe it was really the right decision. And so I got to learn a lot from that. And my job is you to tell me what you want, and I'm supposed to give it back to you in a creative and safe and buildable way. He would give you what he thought you should have at your house. And people do that. People don't know what they want. And they say, well, just draw whatever you like, so I'm going to draw what I like.
Right.
But usually I need that information from the client to change that and create what you want, because I don't have to look at it every day.
Right, but that mold that you've kind of set for yourself, it had to evolve from somewhere. So again, as you're growing and your role changes, the way you deal with people has to change too, right?
Right. So yeah, so it's just, start small and then get a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more, and as you prove yourself and are successful, and I kind of get a little bit of a knack for networking and some of the marketing things, so I was a little bit better connected than some of the other people that we have. They're still good people and good designers, but when it's a small business like that, there was another guy who worked for us who he was a little bit better at the IT stuff. So he was, we have an IT company, but he was sort of like the mini IT company. So he kind of
internal IT dude.
Yeah, he kind of handled some of that stuff, which was in nowhere in our job description it ever said that he needed to help out with the computers and all of our networking stuff. But he was good at it and just sort of did it.
It's funny you say job description, because that's kind of, when you work for a small organization, you can be hired for a task, but you need to pick up where there's holes.
Right.
You got to cover that up. What have you done? Because we know, and we're not going to name anybody specifically, but we know people that say, well, that's not my job.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes your job, doesn't it?
Right. We had, there were some people who worked for us in the past, and, simple thing like in our office, we have, of course, a big plotter. We wanted it. And Bill said, okay, you guys, I'm going to make this investment. You guys take care of this and do whatever you need to do, take care of it. So can't we have somebody else to do it?
Right.
We're like, there's nobody else. It's just us in the office. So you did it because you were the last person in the door. He was the newest hire. So it just kind of moved down the
fell
line.
on him.
It wasn't that we thought any less of the person or, we did it to be demeaning or anything. It was just, you're working in a small business, this machine is our responsibility, so we have to order the paper.
Right.
We don't have.
But don't you think that's where that comes, where someone doesn't? I run into people all the time. They'll say, "That's not my job. I don't understand why I'm not moving up. How am I going to get advancement? How am I going to get paid more?" We know people that have said that. So in your case, did you find yourself like you were ignoring? This isn't my job. I need to be paid more. You just took it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to put some hustle behind it if you're going to grow.
Right. And that's sort of what it came down to. You sort of look around the room and you're like, there's no one else here to do this, so we'll do it.
Right.
And being a designer, and we are always, this is sort of the mindset of most people in a design.
Design Bill. Go ahead and say Design Bill.
Well,
We like to say it now.
We're people pleasers, so we want to just take care of it. And I leave a lot up to me, because if there's a mistake, I want it to be my fault. I don't want it to be your fault. And I don't want to blame anybody else. So the stuff just keeps coming back to us, because that's the personality type we have.
But you have to have a lot of pride in your work too.
Right.
And I think that's the key. You cannot survive in a small business like that, but whether it's thriving or not, and it is. But there had to be some lean years. You had to stick it out. You had to take pride in what you're doing, because every single day you're making something. You're creating something.
We had an intern, and he spelled someone's name wrong on the plan. It was a Friday afternoon. We need the plan done. He wanted to leave. He said, okay, get this plan done and you can go. He spelled the person's name wrong. Where are you going? Fix the name. Well, he's like, well, is it that big a deal? I'm like, do you like it when people spell your name wrong? And he's like, well, I guess not. Reprint the plan. If you weren't in such a hurry to leave, you would have done it right, and now you'd be gone.
But something that small gets remembered, because he's an intern, then he wants to get a job when he gets out of school or whatever happens. Someone remembers that.
Well, and that came from one of our professors we had, where if you would have made a mistake like that on a plan that we turned in for a grade, he'd probably give you a C, just because you did that wrong. That's the first thing client's going to see. If you spelled their name wrong or some little thing, then they say, well, what else is wrong if you can't get my name right?
Right. That is the two favorite words that to a person are their name. There's a psychology study about that, because when you hear your name, good, bad, or indifferent, it gets your attention. Like if the wrong person says it, chill goes up your spine, like, oh no, I'm in trouble, like your mom or somebody. Or if somebody you really care about says your name, like it overwhelms you with emotion. If I look and my name's wrong, everything else is wrong by default.
It doesn't matter. This guy can't even get my name right.
But that's the lack of what we talk about a lot on this show. Is we like to talk about the not just hustle, because hustle's an overused term, but it's putting in the time, putting in the work, because you're not going to grow if you're not really getting your tail out there and doing it.
It all kind of plays a role together. That there's details on a plan that the client's not going to see, or some things drawn a certain way. Pride in my work is doing it right if no one else sees it. I don't care if anybody else ever notices it. I know that's right.
You ever see anything that you did that's wrong? Like,
Never.
not that you did it wrong. I mean, you look at it and you go, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Like, the client likes it, but...
Yeah, little things. You're always critiquing yourself and saying, well, I should have done it this way, or I should have built this a little differently. Not that the way you did it was wrong or bad, just...
But there's something you would have done.
Maybe I could have done this a little better.
Well, to be fair, I've never listened to one of these shows. Of all the shows we've done, I've never listened to one that I was on because I would say we should never do this again. So I'm with you there because I just want to pick it apart. I was just curious. You create things, and you have to put passion into it. And when it's out there, and you look at it and you go, "Oh, I would have taken these two things away." You could pick it all apart.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes back to the pride thing. You have to have pride in what you're doing.
Right. Well, and, you know, that all adds up. You know, if you're working hard and you have the details, you know, things usually happen, and it just builds momentum, and usually you keep going forward.
Right. Let's take a break here because we've been going for 15 minutes straight. You're listening to the 101 with Marc Aubry.
Plus, I don't like my name. I never liked it.
You got about 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the David Gates and Brent song, Aubrey. They had a hit single called Aubrey. And my first cousin, who I was very close to, who passed away from breast cancer about 12 years ago, she named her oldest daughter Aubrey. And I asked her about it. I said, was that after the song? She goes, you're good. Yes,
Spelled
it was.
with an E?
Yeah. Aubrey. Is that how you spell your name? Aubry.
Could you spell your name that way? Could you change it? Good. I'll just change it on all yours.
So when I wrote it down here for the public file, I spelled it M-A-R-K, right?
C.
M-A-R-C. Okay, I spelled that wrong.
C, no E.
Wait a minute. Aubry?
Correct.
I got the last name right. 10 points for me. I get a B+.
Well done.
But I spelled your first name wrong, so I only get a B+. I don't get an A.
Correct. My mom wanted to name me Chandler, but I thought too many people,
Chandler Bong?
too many people would make fun of me.
I don't think that would be the only reason why.
And here I was named after both my uncles. My Uncle Jim, Uncle
I thought you
Tom.
said boat.
Yes, I had an Uncle Tom. He didn't own a cabin.
Love that book. I think it's a book.
It is. Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, man.
All right, let's
Ready?
go.
Here we go.
Welcome back to the 101. I'm here with Marc Aubry from Greenscapes. We went 16 minutes straight, so I'm super impressed.
Of course.
So what I want to get into now is we kind of talked about what led up to this point. Where are you at in your development, your career with Greenscapes now? Like, how do you feel about it?
Feel good. You know, we've accomplished a lot. We've changed a lot from where we started, you know, the type of projects that we do and the degree of detail. Bill has built a very good company that's always had a good name in Columbus. He tells a story. You might ask us on our normal show, Down the Garden Path.
Yeah. Let's hope. Yes, you should get the plug in for the show. Down the Garden Path.
Sundays at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, sometimes it's Mark and I. Sometimes it's Bill and a guest of some nature.
Mm-hmm. But he tells a story about his mother worked at Lazarus, and everybody in town who remembers Lazarus, you know, it was very customer service oriented. You know, if you brought something back and didn't like it, you know, they did everything they could, and so he kind of, you know, brought that idea and continuation with what we do and how we deal with our clients. And you know, sometimes we do a lot of things that we probably don't have to do. If you just look at agreements and contracts, you know, well, according to this agreement, we don't have to do that, but you have to pay me. And usually we just take care of, you know, if it's something that's reasonable, say, well, we'll just take care of it. You know, we don't want to be known as people who sign a contract and they needed extra for this, and they needed extra for that, they needed extra for that. When we sign a contract, we do everything we can to keep the spirit of that contract and execute everything. And if we did something, we want to fix it, or if something didn't work out, we try to fix it to the best or adjust it to the best we can, and try not to incur the clients any more cost, because these are usually pretty big agreements that we're working on.
Well, you have mentioned that to me, like when we're just talking off the air on the phone about the little things that you guys are going out. You know, that water runoff situation or the pipe freezing, it has nothing to do with you, but you guys still take care of it. And there had to be something where this started, like that Lazarus thing is a good example of,
Right.
but Bill passes that on to you and other people that work at Greenscapes. So, not that you wouldn't have known that to begin with, but you never complain about it. You'll tell me I have to go and look at this thing, which will take me 20 minutes to go fix, and it's not what I do, but we have to go do it.
Right. We did a few years ago. We did a really big project, with a lot of very difficult things, and the client was complaining about his grass. The grass didn't look the best. And we asked Bill, "What should we do?" And he said, "If it's just the grass, get the fertilizer guys out there, get it taken care of. We're going to spend a little bit of money getting this grass just perfect, because it looked okay. It would have been okay. It would have grown the next year and it would have turned out to be fine." But he was just impatient. And he said, "Well, if this is what he's complaining about, we can fix this pretty easily." And he's not complaining about the things that are difficult to fix. And everything was fine. Everything was perfect. But he's like, "Well, think about what he's saying, and can we fix this easily?" Yeah. So we sent our fertilization guy out, and we mowed his grass twice. He was happy as could be. It was kind of funny that we went through this. There's a pool house and pool and decks and walls and a whole bunch of these really highly detailed things, but he really cared about his grass looking nice. So it was just kind of funny that he made this huge investment on his house, and it was really his grass what he really cared about.
That was the one thing that just stuck in his craw, and
Yeah.
he wanted someone to pay attention to.
Yeah. So when we never thought about it. We had all of our products and our trucks parked on the lawn, and it was pretty beat up. We fixed it, and it was fine. But it was just some of the things that you don't realize what is important to clients until he was complaining about the grass. So we fixed it and and he was happy with it.
Do you feel that's the most important thing, is addressing a client's need in terms of what, you can't anticipate everything, but do you feel that's what keeps people coming back to you as a designer, or Greenscapes in general, that you're putting out any fire no matter the size of it?
Yeah, we try to. We always try to help them out, and if it's something that we can't help them with, we try to give them a solution. Say, "Well, we can't help you with this, but here's somebody that we can refer you to that we trust that can fix this for you."
I just think that's very important in any small business. Again, some of the people that listen to this or hear this own small coffee shops, or they're just getting going, and sometimes the basics get missed. And that's the whole point, is we like to bring people like you that you've seen in 17 years plus the pitfalls. You've seen bad revenue. You've seen extreme revenue growth. So you're very calm about it. Like, whenever we're talking, it's because you've seen it before.
Right. And the one thing we learned is you have to have a good idea of what you're passionate about, and what you really like to do. Because if you need to do those things the best, because that's what keeps you going there every day. If you own a coffee shop but really want to own a Hallmark store,
right?
You'll run the coffee shop and be profitable, but you'll dread it every day.
Well, I think the example is, you can own a coffee shop and it's great, but you don't know how to make coffee, or you don't want to get up early. Well, one of those two things, or both, you're going to fail, because you're not really all in. You guys have had to go all in from day one, and it takes, a certain type of person to keep growing it.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of growing that, I want to know what you, Marc Aubry, without an E, are planning on doing as things move forward. You've got, the economy's really good, the growth of the company's really good. Where do you see yourself going?
Well, I think it's a continuation of what we've been working on, and as you know, marketing always changes. That's always our big thing, is how do we make the phone ring? And the things we did last year, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago that didn't work, could work next year, or may not work again. So it's funny.
It always fluctuates.
Yeah. So marketing is a very inexact science, we found out.
Right.
But it's continuation of building the brand, and continuing to spread it out, and just a continuation of what we've started from where we were to where we are now, is just to keep pushing forward, because we see some people, we know some other people who have small businesses, and they're very happy with what they have. Some other landscapers we know do great work, been around town for a long time, but it's the owner, and he has to manage, and his wife helps, and he's got a crew or two, and they're happy with that, and they just kind of keep plucking along. The thing is, when they decide to be done, they just close the door, and now there's 10 people who need jobs.
Right.
We look at what we do. We have 80 to 100 people, and we want to continue to push through and be a good citizen of Columbus and keep people busy.
Well, I think it's important that you're talking about that, because I think when you're starting a company or it's family owned, you have to care about the people that you employ.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't sell or service a job right, you're going to affect, it's that trickle down economy. You're going to harm the guy that works in the warehouse or the guy that works in the greenhouse. You could cost them their job. I mean, no pressure whatsoever that I just said that.
I really got that when the economy went down, because you see people start to disappear, and you see all the cars in the parking lot, and you're like, all these people are depending on me going out and finding someone that wants to buy a landscape project, getting them to agree to it, and then sending these guys out to build it. So when that was 2007, 2008,
it was a good time for everyone.
Yeah, and so you want to talk about tremendous pressure as that you really feel it, because this is real, that these guys aren't going to be able to feed their family, or what are they going to do if I'm out here screwing around all day? So it's a strong feeling you get.
Way to leave the show on a high note.
Yeah.
We're down to our last 30 seconds, but first of all, I love that you came on just because we're buddies, but also I think people learned a lot from you today, and thank you for coming on. All right, you've been listening to the 101. We'll see you next week. That was painless, wasn't it?
Of course it was. Good job.